Hello, everyone. This is Animezingly Baka, the amazingly stupid podcast all about anime and movies and TV shows and manga and comics and books and music and so much more. Sans video games, of course. It's a good intro. I'm of course your host, Mark Hernandez, but it's a good intro for the show. It just kind of sucks so far because it is mostly just an anime podcast. I want to leave the window open though. I want to leave the door open. I want to leave the door open for other topics and forms of media that I enjoy consuming. It's just been all busy on the central United States front, and thus it's really just been anime. I am still doing that is my big rewatch of every movie I own, but I find that to be incredibly boring. And the rate at which I'm going through it, a lot of it is just going in one ear and out the other, which isn't to say I'm not engaging with what I'm watching or that I'm not really paying attention to any of it. It's just I'll watch something and then I'll watch something immediately after it so that I can't once I watch something and I can confirm how I feel about it and I review it on Letterboxd, I throw that shit out of my head so that I can move on to the next thing and so on and so forth. So there's just not a lot to glom on there with all that. I'm getting close to not so much being done, but being out of English speaking movies, English language movies, which will slow down my pace significantly because it's a lot easier to partially watch English speaking, well, not native to your language speaking movies. It is a lot easier to consume that kind of content without giving it your fullest attention. But if something is foreign to you and you have to read subtitles, it requires a lot more of your attention. Like with anime, if you're not an English dub watcher, and I am not an English dub watcher, at least not upon first viewing, and in some cases, depending on the show, never going to do it. Or with the one caveat, the one outlier being Dragon Ball, which I will never watch subbed because I find the voice actor for Goku to be terrible. Nothing against her ability to act, but I find her voice does not suit the character. She just sounds like an old woman, and she is an old woman. But if you compare that to Luffy's voice actor in One Piece, she is also an older lady. I don't know who's older. That doesn't really matter, but she is an older lady and she sounds so lively and youthful and like this young boy man how I expect him to sound. She's incredible. I think she does I think Luffy's voice actor is incredible. Does one of the most incredible performances in all of anime. I think she just absolutely kills it. And so while I did watch the first 500 episodes of One Piece in English, whatever was available, I think they may have gone back and started redubbing, or not redubbing, but dubbing earlier episodes and not just the current arc. I watched up to whatever was dubbed to that point when I caught up. Oh God, what is it? 5 years? 6? I don't know exactly when it was that I started my One Piece journey. But once I hit that, okay, you have to transition to subs now, I never looked back. And if I were to ever, it's something I've thought about, and when I think about it, I immediately realize how insane it is. But if I ever do decide to rewatch One Piece, I would just start off subbed right away. But I know that's an insane thing to do when there are plenty of shows I've yet to watch ever, or plenty of shows that I would love to rewatch, and I could rewatch hundreds, arguably, potentially, in the span that it would take me to rewatch just One Piece. And I've also said before that if I really want to experience the story again, the manga is there that I've never experienced. So I could knock out two birds with one stone there by finally reading the manga and being able to re-experience the early parts of the story. And if I wanted to watch an episode related to a particular story thing, like it's not, it's so old that spoilers aren't, but Ace's death, I could rewatch that particular episode or a handful from that arc that I want to re-experience in anime form. But I've just been so preoccupied with the personal collection rewatch of movies that it hasn't left much time for anything else outside of my seasonal anime shows, which are the same for. And when I'm thinking about, because I had some time, I was thinking about what will I watch next. I'm still really itching to rewatch Mashal, but I thought about watching Pluto, and then I said to myself, well, I have the manga. I got a lot of the manga, not a lot, there's no way of phrasing this well. I got an eBay lot of the manga, the complete collection, years and years and years ago, probably 10 plus years ago, because it was really cheap. I've heard great things about it. It's in great condition. I said, oh, why not? Why not get this? And I've never read it. So when I thought about watching the show, I said to myself, well, maybe I should read it first. And then I said to myself, well, if I read it first, will the anime hit in the same way? Because I'll know what to expect. I'll know the story. I never quite know how to navigate that tightrope. I tend to be more of a, well, I would rather experience it in anime form first and then go back to the manga, as opposed to reading the manga and spoiling myself on the anime. I don't know where the majority of people lie in that camp, but that's where I tend to fall. It also just helps in the fact that I'm not a big manga reader, not out of any kind of dislike for the medium, but just love anime, and with my time, I'm going to spend it there instead. Even though re getting into the manga space with Kaiju number 8 was really good, even though I ended up being a little underwhelmed by the series in the end. I was reminded of how easy it is to get through a manga. You don't have to read a ton a day. You can read a few chapters, and chapters, depending on the manga, of course, how wordy it is, how long the chapters are. I think there is a base average of that, let's just say 20 pages for a chapter, but maybe for special episodes or your first episode, not first episodes, but first issues, second issues, I mean, chapters, blah, 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 they can be on the longer side, like with Kaiju number 8. But it's really easy to just read, even if you want to say 10 chapters. That's not the biggest investment, biggest time investment. So I need to get back on that. It is just a matter of committing to a manga. And part of me wants to read stuff I've not watched. And then another part of me wants to read stuff I have watched. For instance, maybe it would be fun to read Demon Slayer with us being, I believe, My Hero with it ending now. But I believe the next season of Demon Slayer is also going to be its final season. I could be wrong there, but no idea what to do there. I've also got regular comics. I've collected the entirety of the TMNT IDW run in the hardcover graphic novel collections, trade paper, well, not trade, but the hardcover collections that are up to volume 17 or something. I have all of them, and I've read none of it. I used to collect the floppies up until issue 50 when they had, because I would collect the floppies and every variant cover because I'm just that way. I'm bad when it comes to collecting stuff because I get a tendency to want to be a completionist, and so that is something where I have to rip the Band-Aid off in certain cases to prevent myself from going overboard. I was lucky enough to have a Lego set that I was collecting, have one of them retire early without any kind of real notice, and missing out on that meant I was able to rip that Band-Aid off. This episode is all over the place in terms of my mind, but maybe that's enjoyable. You just get a glimpse of what it's like to be inside my head. But what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, the IDW run of Ninja Turtles. I used to collect the floppies and all the variant covers, and there were maybe at max 3 variant covers for an issue, but then the 50th issue, 'cause it's a big issue, it's a big deal. They maybe had like 12 variants or even more. It was so much that I looked at, I'm like, I am not spending $100 on one issue this month because I think some of them were a bit more premium, more limited in terms of the variant covers. Some I have original artwork by Eastman Laird and whatnot, and I don't know. I just decided at that point I'm done collecting the floppies. I'm just gonna do the trades and the hardcovers, and I got rid of all my floppies years later at a comic shop. I was just like, "Here, what do you give me for these?" And I got surprisingly more than I was expecting. But I no longer have any floppies, just hardcovers. And I don't have that many hardcovers because I just have my TMNT stuff and then a few other series that I really enjoy for either the art or the story or so on and so forth. But yeah, I've got all those to read. So there's plenty of stuff to talk about outside of anime and movies in the future, like TV and manga and comics and books and music. Probably never music ever again. I don't know. Music and me have such a weird history, and the person who I shared a great love of music with, well, thinking about it now, a big part of my musical interests I got from my youth was my brother, who no longer in my life. Realized sadder some sad realizations in terms of that relationship. And then the other person more recently who I shared a love of music with, and I hope to have, I don't know, it's just that was a big case of constant wrong place, wrong time. And then I eventually just decided to, when I was given basically an ultimatum, I said, okay, here's another Band-Aid to rip off. I'm covered in Band-Aids in need of being ripped off. And I ripped that one off, which was it the right decision? It's the decision I made. So that's what it is. I will live with it because this is a decision I made. I can't even say the word decision. Anywho, let us get on to what I've been watching, the seasonal anime and all that. With started with that is Campfire cooking in another world. I'm a good cook. Absurd skill. What is it called? Campfire cooking in another world with my absurd skill. This was another fine episode. It was just fine. I kind of liked the little bait and switch rug pulled out from under you at the beginning-ish of the episode where it seems like we're finally going to go into the dungeon and we're going to see some fighting and have a good old merry time. But when they go to enter the dungeon, they find out that these treks into the dungeon take a long time. They can take people anywhere from, I think, 3 days to a month. And you need to be obviously very prepared for such a journey, such an endeavor, because if you don't have enough food prepared, so on and so forth, it's going to be rough going. And this allows Kudo, I think is his name. This allows him another excuse to delay the dungeon dive, the dungeon exploration. And so a lot of this episode is just preparing for the fingers crossed, dungeon exploration of next episode. Because as I was watching this, my memory could be off, but it got me to thinking about why this season hasn't been clicking the same way the first season did. And I think it's because, and I could be completely off, because it's been, how long was it? When did that season come out? Okay, it was a while. It was over almost, well, just about 2.5 years ago. So I thought it was closer. Probably that's probably a factor in why my memory is hazy on the show. But I feel like the first season had a lot more of Makoto and his familiars fighting various monsters, and then they would take the monsters they defeated and create some kind of meal from that. And that loop of storytelling was, of course, repetitive, simplified, or very simple, but it was satisfying to have them fight some kind of creature and then you, through them, discover an interesting way or how this creature may relate to a real world counterpart and what they cook from it. But here it's just been a lot of cooking. It's felt more like a cooking show, just like a straight cooking show this season, as opposed to a fantasy mixed with cooking show of last season. Again, memory notwithstanding. But this episode was fun. It was good. We got a new, what is it? Blessing for Makoto from the dwarf looking fella, because he doesn't have any kind of, or not a strong defensive blessing. And if they want to keep all these gods, want to keep enjoying their benefits, whether it be booze, beauty products, food, so on and so forth, they're going to want him to be as protected as possible so that he doesn't die and then all of their luxurious offerings will be no more. Though we didn't get an idea of exactly what it is. I don't know if we're going to get a hint when they're in the dungeon and something happens like, oh, this saves you. But a solid a solid episode. We saw the return of the one guild receptionist lady who has a very kind of blasé attitude to everyone else, but then with Belle, she's so lovey-dovey over him. He's so fluffy. But another solid episode. I'm not disliking this season. I want to make that very clear. I'm not disliking this season. It just isn't quite hitting the way I remember the first season hitting. I think I gave the first season an 8, maybe? Can I see? Yeah, I gave it an 8. And this is more in that 7 range for me. So it's not a huge drop off by any means, but I remember being really pleasantly surprised and really enjoying the first season. And this one is just kind of like, yeah, this is a very nice, chill anime in between your incredibly emotional and heavy shows like My Hero, which to go off of that and talk about My Hero, this was the culmination of Bakugo's explosive return and the defeat of All for One, which I'm hoping is the actual defeat. I'm assuming it is, which is great. I was very worried near the end of this, especially when Bakugo got he got the stone tentacle like thing coming out of little baby All for One's mouth after exploding him enough to revert him to infant newborn baby form. I thought that actually hit him. I was very concerned as an anime only watcher of My Hero. When that happened, I was very, very concerned that All for One was not done. And also Bakugo was going to be hurt and maybe his powers could take it away. Like I get concerned anytime you have stuff like this where it feels like, and not just with anime, manga, or whatnot, but also in Western comics and movies where it feels like they can't just let something end. It's like, okay, let's find another way for this shit to keep going and going on. No, can we just have All for One be done? Let him be over. Let him be dead, defeated, and let's go to Deku and all that. And we got that. Hopefully. Maybe something will happen in a future episode. It's like, oh, actually, he's not gone and he crawled all the way over here. Fucking bullshit like that. But it's a really, really strong episode. A great end to what was built up through last week's episode. We got All for One's backstory, which was interesting, well told. I was engaged with that. I don't know how much of that we already knew through characters talking in the past or just even All for One talking about it, but now we get it visualized. And yeah, All for One's just a shitty, shitty dude. A shitty dude. It's nice to see him get his comeuppance. And Bakugo just shined incredibly well. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if Todoroki had as strong of an emotional moment at any point. Because his stuff with his family was very good. Sure, that we had. Was the last season where they're all together? I think so. But I don't know. Even the scene that it probably hit me more emotionally, the one that I talked about last week with Deku at the camp. I don't know, and maybe it's the incredible animation that's gone with it. They're really just putting their best efforts into the season, and it's wonderful to see. But I'm struggling to think if especially you take these 2 episodes together, if My Hero has ever been better than this. And I'm so happy. I'm thinking about the fact that overall, because there are so many characters, it's been hard for everyone to really get the attention they deserve. And Bakugo might be the one who is clearly more of a main character than a side character who has been short-tripped the most in terms of the entirety of the series. But having him get this particular moment, so, so satisfying. It's just what an incredible start to this final season. And I have to assume my I'm just assuming that this final season is only going to be 12 to 13 episodes because I don't know what else there is for it outside of now the fight between Deku and is it Shigaraki? Is that his name? Shigaraki. Yeah. So I don't know what there is outside of their fight. But once that's done, I mean, we're not going to just hang out for 12 episodes. So, fantastic, fantastic episode. Spy Family was okay. I'm a little annoyed right now with Spy Family. I enjoyed getting all the Lloyd backstory, and we've had with 2 episodes a decent amount with Anya. This episode was split into 2 parts, with the majority being this pink-haired woman who I'm sure we've met her a few times, but having her and this other rookie dude, having them be the focus of the majority of the episode, doing their mission because Lloyd was out of commission. I think it was because of his fall and the shock of Anya's first bolt. It like that whole section was fine. But for me at least, I can't speak to everyone. I come to Spy Family predominantly for the family, for Lloyd, Yor, and Anya, and Bond as well. So that is what I want to get most of the time. I don't need it all the time. The first episode, the bit with Frankie and that other woman, that was enjoyable. But I would like there to at least be an even balance so that we get at least 50% with the family and 50% with other characters. But I would also personally prefer that scale to be a bit leaning towards the family side of things. And if you take out everything from this season so far and balance it out, it is more towards the family side with Lloyd's backstory and the 2 bits with Anya, with her getting her first bolt, not having the spare handkerchief. She had her handkerchief, but she didn't have the spare after giving hers to the boy. And then the end part of this episode, having her speak with the what is his title again? He's not a principal, but her spending time with him and the fun back and forth they have as she's reading his thoughts and she's just wanting to get some biscuits out of it. What I realized when this episode ended is that we've gotten nothing so far. 4 episodes into the season, we've got nothing with Yor. And that sucks. I love Yor, and I would like to get an episode or at least part of an episode focused on her. Hopefully that happens next week. Otherwise, what the fuck are we even doing? And you might be saying, we know, or you might be saying, she is going to get her due finally next week because the previews show that. I don't watch the previews at the end of the episode. When the ED finishes, I'm out. I never watch the preview of any series at the end of an episode because I don't want to be spoiled on what's going to happen next week. There are times where they could spoil something significant, and I don't want any of that. For instance, I don't know if they did, but the previews for My Hero may have spoiled certain aspects of the fight between All One and Bakugo that I wouldn't want spoiled. I wouldn't want to experience them fresh when watching the episode. But right now, I'm a little annoyed with Spy Family with just how little love Yor has gotten this season. I was thinking about it, and if there's something I'm forgetting, all I can remember is the first episode when Lloyd has the battle in the construction vehicles at the construction site. I'm pretty sure Yor goes off to go deal with someone else herself, but it focuses on Lloyd the whole time. I don't think we see what Yor is doing then. So, you know, I just want some Yor. I want some Yor. I want some more Yor. So hopefully we get that next week. But it's a solid episode of Spy Family. It's just so far it's not starting off on the strongest footing compared to how I remember feeling about both season 1 and season 2. I still really like the show, of course. I have a great time with it because I love these characters. It's just, come on, give some love to Yor. And then the last thing I watched was Gachiakuta, which was a very fun episode this week. Very, very fun, especially the first half or so that dealt with what it was his name. It's like Bakudo, this old dude, and his fight with, well, it's not really a fight, but him with the cleaners, Bro and Deer, the father son like duo, the one little kid, 10-year-old kid with the pacifier in his mouth, who makes he has a very expressive face, especially when he's annoyed. But their back and forth was fun. The interactions between, well, all three of them, but Bro and Deer, Bro being very concerned about Deer constantly being annoyed and burrowing his brows so much that he's going to have wrinkles when he grows up. He doesn't want that to happen. It's like, oh, come on, please stop doing this. You're going to ruin your face. And that fight turning into this exchange of information with the old dude wanting to learn more about the cleaners leader and asking questions that really only matter to him and things that weren't expected, like, oh, what is the leader's favorite food? What are his hobbies? How old is he? How long has he been the leader of the cleaners? Just wants to get to know him. Why? Who knows? Maybe we'll find out. But Bro didn't know the answer to a lot of them. And he felt like, oh, well, this is going to screw us over. But not knowing was still providing some kind of answers to the old dude. So he provided them with some information on what's going on with their situation. And then we had more of the fight between, I always forget his name. Zonka. Zonka and Edward Scissorhands, as I like to call him, which was a good fight. I'm trying to remember if it ended on him getting decommissioned, knocked down, and then the stab. So where that's gonna go, and we had a bit of back and forth between Rudo and the Raider leader. But the highlight of the episode was by far the first bit interaction between Bro, Deer, and can I get this character? I really I want more of that. The whole vibe of this older dude was Their last name is Santa. Bro and Dear Santa. Bundus. There you go. I like that whole thing. It was fun seeing their interplay. But a solid episode. A very that's what Gachiakuta is. It's just solid and at oftentimes very, very fun with a great aesthetic. I love the look of it so much. And yeah, curious to see how this is all going to play out. But I'm also ready to get out of here. So we'll see over the next coming episodes, I'm sure. That's it in terms of anime as usual. So that is going to do it for this here episode of Animezingly Baka. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to the sausage dump where I talk about this, that, and whatever, as well as a private Discord channel and some fancy Discord roles depending on your tier, of course. Or you could just support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye, bye.
It's go time, go daddy. It's go time, go daddy.